ਦੀ ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ ਲਈ ਤਜਰਬੇਕਾਰ ਸਰਟੀਫਾਈਡ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਅਕਾਊਂਟੈਂਟ ਗੁਪਤਾ ਐਂਡ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਟਸ ਕਾਰਪੋਰੇਟ ਟੈਕਸ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਈਅਰ ਐਂਡ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਟੈਕਸ ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ ਪੇਰੋਲ GST PST appeals audit housing rebate financial projections ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 6045925177 25 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਵਾਲੇ ਗੁਪਤਾ ਐਂਡ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਟਸ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ।
Welcome back. ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੈਸਟ ਹਨ ਮੈਰੀ ਪ੍ਰਸ਼ੈਟ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਅਵਾਰਡਸ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਨ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ for her contributions towards women trafficking and sexual exploitation. Also, she's a powerful woman ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ। Let's welcome Mary Prashett. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anita.
So Mary, can you tell us what is Intercess Training?
Intercessor Training is my company, and I provide training and consultation to individuals that want to take courses in healthy relationships, fighting fairly, how to look after their families, as well as train individuals to be seminar leaders, life management coaches, behavior interventionists, and youth counselors.
So you're obviously an amazing, powerful woman, and you've won several awards, and you're a community activist. Yes. What I'd actually like to talk about today is, can you tell me, how did you get involved in being a community activist and towards women's rights?
Well, my work with community activism starts with my own story, and I myself am a survivor of most things awful in women's lives, and as a result of that I had the good fortune to have a very strong will and a good mind, which I'm very grateful for. They came from So as a result of that, I was able to turn my challenging experiences as a child and an adolescent into activism for women. I also survived human trafficking through the US during the years of the Vietnam War, and that raised my awareness of human trafficking, although that agenda in activism has only come to our attention in about the last 10 years.
Well, human trafficking is not spoken about very often.
No.
Same with sexual exploitation. Can you tell us what is human trafficking and sexual exploitation?
Yeah. Okay. Human trafficking is human trafficking is about boys and girls and women being put into slavery for the purposes of them being bought and sold for sexual pleasure. And the individuals that owned them, it's a business, make money off of every single sale of the boy or the girl or the woman for purposes of sexual exploitation.
So how does one get into, like, how do they get into sexual exploitation and human trafficking?
The reason we refer to it as exploitation is because it's the taking advantage of an individual who has no power, no economic power, no social power, and no voice power. So, and one of the misconceptions is that it's in the third world countries, Cambodia, Thailand, Laos. It isn't. Human trafficking for purposes of sexual exploitation is prevalent everywhere. North America, Europe, India, Africa, all countries are challenged by human trafficking. When I began this work in human trafficking 15 years ago, we used to talk about criminal enterprise, number one being the sales of arms for war, number two being drug trafficking. Today, the second greatest organized crime profit-making industry is human trafficking. And that is the buying and selling of human beings for sexual pleasure.
And that's so true. I did actually read some stats on that.
Yes.
And, you know, it amazes me because that's why they tell parents and it's not just parents, like young women and men, be careful of social media and what you put out there.
Yes.
Because you have a lot of Johns that are looking for these innocent individuals that want to sell them and traffic them.
Yes. Yes.
So what are some signs, like what can one do for like parents out there watching this show, adult women and men, like what are some things they can do to help themselves if they get in a situation and they're not really sure what's going on?
Well, the first thing I always say to parents is if your daughter comes home in a limousine and it's not a graduation or a specialized feast day celebrated with family, she's in trouble.
Yes, absolutely.
And if a boyfriend buys your daughter anything of diamond or gold or very expensive jewelry, and it's a new relationship, and she's not being engaged to him, she's in trouble.
And we see that so often,
Yes.
where young men are actually buying these young girls.
Yes.
And even in their mid-30s, it doesn't
Yes.
really matter. It
No.
happens quite often.
Yes.
You see these men buying women very expensive jewelry
Yes.
and cars, and they're saying we're running a business. But
Yes.
really, what is that business?
The business is that young woman will eventually be sold to the friends of the boyfriend and expected to perform sexual favors, and very quickly the study is consistently around the world 2 weeks. From day 1 to day 14, there will be purchases of jewelry, celebrations, expensive gifts, going out for fancy dinners,
Yes.
and on day 14 she will be asked to perform favors for friends, and by day 15 money will be exchanged for her to perform sexual favors. She will then be told that she has to pay back all the money for all the gifts that she was bought, the dinner she was taken to, and she will also be threatened at that point that if she doesn't pay that money back and doesn't contribute to what she's being asked to do, either someone in her family will be killed or a sister will be taken and put into human trafficking as
So
well.
they're basically blackmailed. And we see it all the time, where you see young women, they're dressed inappropriate, and their self-worth. That's why it's so important to love yourself and just be yourself.
Yes.
And then we see, these women just, they're lost. And
Absolutely, yes.
absolutely lost. I agree with you. So my final question to you is, in wrapping this up, usually within the South Asian community, they would feel this is not our issue.
Yes,
Do you see this in the South Asian community? Is this prevalent?
yes,
Human trafficking?
yes. Having worked on the front lines for the last 15 years right here in Surrey and served over 500 young girls who are being human trafficked, it's a problem in every single
Yes.
cultural community.
Yeah.
The challenge is that the women have no voice to talk about it. So when we say it's not in our community, whether we're a Caucasian community, a Scottish, a South Asian, or Chinese community, when we say it isn't in our community, the girls do not have a voice. Neither do the boys. There's a whole other side to this, which is a way of recruiting young boys into gangs by having them recruit their girlfriends. For another time.
That's another topic for another day.
But for young girls, we must agree that it exists so that they can talk.
Thank you, Mary, for having us on our show.
Thank you so much, Anita, for inviting me.
ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕਿੰਗ ਆ ਇਹ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਕਾਕੇਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ, ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਯੰਗ ਗਰਲਸ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਆ ਮੋਨੀਟਰ ਕਰਨਾ for their own safety. ਅੱਜ ਲਈ, thank you.